Hello all and welcome to Rooz TV It is your host, Joe Marnie. I'm joined by Jamie and Footner. We are here tonight for the PS5 round 2 of season 8. Welcome, Jamie. Welcome, Footner. How are you guys going?
Hi JJ, hi Footner, hi everyone.
Yeah, g'day guys. Very happy to be here and bring you guys the action again.
We're just having some technical dramas, server issues, and the like. Bit of an ongoing issue with PS5 at the moment. Hopefully, this next update, this will hopefully get sorted out. But the servers are back up and going, and we've got about 5 minutes before quali kicks off. Now, Imola is a pretty special circuit, and while I'm in the background sorting out some of these little dramas, I'll hand the mic over to Jamie and Footner.
Cheers JJ. Good to be back at Imola, one of my personal favourites, so I know some people have a bit of a love-hate relationship with it. It's a pretty special track. We know its history. Cam, I know you're going to speak about that a little bit more in a moment, but we're in Italy, Emilia-Romagna region, and Imola circuit is just under 5 kilometres in length. Had a few revisions over the years. We know that it's the location of some pretty tragic circumstances a number of years ago that prompted some revisions, particularly around the Tamburello section. And we've got a couple of really, really fast flowing sections, particularly as we go up over the hill, a couple of areas that are going to be quite difficult for the guys in terms of keeping inside the track limits. We got sausage curbs as well, everyone's favourite. So some of those, particularly mid-engined cars, might find going a bit tough over them, particularly the first two chicanes. And we've got a really nice passing opportunity into turn one, though it isn't the most easy track to pass on, is it, Cam?
No, certainly not. A lot of the corners very much single file, especially the chicanes, unless you can get that overlap into the braking zones. But very often you'll compromise a lot of exit and you will suffer a lot of lap speed from that. But yeah, it's also one of my favourite tracks. I absolutely love Imola. It is rich with history. It is a track that features a little bit of everything, from hairpins to fast flowing to chicane, on camber, off camber corners. Like you mentioned, the MR cars probably might struggle with the sausage curbs. Also, a lot of the trail braking into some of these fast corners. I noticed when I was driving some MR cars around here, they tend to lose the rear. But yeah, as you alluded to, Imola is home of the Black Weekend, the 1994 San Marino Grand Prix, where it didn't start off well with Rubens Barrichello having that massive accident on the Friday and being airlifted to hospital. That was in what I believe now is the last chicane, however, used to be the second to last chicane. And then tragically, Roland Ratzenberger lost his life in a fiery crash at Villeneuve on the same day. So two big incidents on the same day. The Roland crash was said to have rattled one of the greatest drivers of all time, being Ayrton Senna as well, who would also tragically meet his fate in the Sunday race when his car went straight on at Tamburello. Hence, a lot of those revisions. So just a quick piece to pay my respects to those guys and take some solace in the fact that they died doing the thing that they love.
Yeah, absolutely. Always important to remember such things. We all love our racing, particularly the sim racing variety, which we partake in, but we all love our motorsport and those sorts of events and occasions we do need to remember. JJ, are we up and running yet by chance?
No, we're not, unfortunately, because server one's just disappeared, which is where tonight's action's supposed to be happening.
That's okay. What we might be able to do is do a bit of a recap of last week, or last fortnight, sorry. So, as JJ, I think, might have alluded to earlier, we unfortunately don't have all of our lovely graphics to be able to show all the information that we normally do. But
I'm working on that. I will quickly
okay.
bring something up so that we can actually do that. And bear with me for a moment while I'm trying to sort this out.
No worries. Yeah, we were at Laguna Seca last round out a couple of weeks ago. Entertaining race. I remember we remarked in the commentary that night that some of the guys might have been a bit rusty, particularly with the delays that we've had trying to get these updates in for the PS5 version of the game to be thrust onto a circuit like Laguna Seca, which is very difficult under the best of times. Lots of sand and gravel, curbs, walls in close proximity, the difficult corkscrew chicane. We saw a lot of cars spending a lot of time off track and a lot of drivers yo-yoing up and down the order. So it was quite entertaining from our perspective, and so much so that we probably weren't able to capture absolutely everything, but we did our best, and it looks like we got some visuals up here of the current championship standings at the moment.
Yeah, so this is the PS4 division who have run 2 races so far. So they did their Imola round last week on the Tuesday. So Fly Sky driving for BHR sitting pretty up there at the top, followed by Sparky, who's had a couple of excellent results as well.
BHR drivers represented quite well in that server there. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the top 6. So looking good in that server for BHR, and the podium racing team driver of Sparky showing well up there in second.
Yeah, Zero not running in the PS4 League by the looks of it to consolidate that win he had at Laguna. So yeah, in the PS4, yeah, he did win. So interesting.
There you go. So we've got a couple of guys backing up across both of the servers as well. So for the PS5 Tier 2 at the moment, we got, which will also be run tonight. We got Black Falcon, who took the victory in the last round. He's on 30 points, followed by Scotty Pye, the Selby Acoustics racing driver, in second, and Adam Kammer picked up the podium position for the PS5 Tier 2 race a couple of weeks ago. Just looking at the PS5 Tier 1, which is what we'll be seeing tonight once we get going. So as GT King took the victory last time out, you might recall Cam, he was in a great battle with Javar, and that lead kind of swung around a couple of times, and ultimately was a couple of errors that might have undone Javar there and ended up falling off GT King by a number of seconds, but there was a good battle there for a lot of the race.
Yeah, that was an absolutely cracking battle for the first probably around 30 minutes before they both jumped into the pits. GT King just managing to edge out a little bit of a gap, and must have put a little bit too much pressure on Gawur to try and make up, and fell victim to a couple of mistakes, and ultimately handed GT King a very comfortable lead in the end. But yeah, I think GT King was probably the only guy who had an uneventful race, really. Wouldn't say it was a non-eventful, but yeah, definitely not having as big of a moment as some of the other guys. Big mention there to Eagle as well, who just sat down and drove his own race. Taking P3 is no mean feat in the top division. So well done to Eagle for rounding out the podium.
And that was actually a great night for Eagle Wins team P&L, who all 5 drivers inside the top 10, and that really came at a cost for our former team, or team at heart, BHR, who had qualified so well. I think all of the BHR drivers were into or near enough to the top 10, and many of them, aside from Noxrai, still out of contention. But I do remember, particularly towards the back end of that race, Knoxroy was just absolutely lighting up the screen with some amazing overtakes, and one in particular where he set it up so well a few corners before, and then eventually got his man into the corkscrew, a move he replicated a couple of times. So it was some great action there from him.
Yeah, I know it's early days, but I've had 2 weeks to think about it, and pretty happy to throw that as a nomination for drive of the season. Absolutely sensational from Knox after having a lap one incident. Drove his way through the field at arguably one of the hardest tracks to pass, and found himself knocking on the door for a podium position, finishing only a fraction of a second behind Eagle Wind.
Just having a look at some of the other drivers here that'll be in the server tonight, and how they went last time out. So as I said, P&L performing very strongly there with Zest 1 and Captain Ty Morgo featuring heavily in the top half. We were having a bit of a spy at practice just a bit earlier on, and I could see Ty laying down some pretty solid times. So we're looking forward to seeing how he goes here this evening. Andrelli was in the McLaren last week, and I think I may have seen that he changed cars. So as soon as we get back into the server, we'll be able to confirm a couple of car changes for you. Barter's back in the console league this season after a couple of seasons off for SAR. He was towards the top half there, and a couple of drivers probably not featuring quite as well as we would expect. Stucar ended up quite down the order. I think had a couple of issues and didn't make the checkered flag. So I'm sure he'll be keen to make amends this week.
Yeah, a few drivers definitely going to be looking to show where their pace was at. Fly is definitely one of those. Fly Sky qualified P2. Unfortunately, succumbed to some contact on lap 1 and was relegated to the back, where he found himself in a few more incidents and ultimately wasn't able to drive through the field like Knoxroy did. Adman as well, I believe, qualified around 4th place. Also, a couple of moments we were on board with him when we saw him lose it around turn 3 or even turn 4. I know Laguna's got a bit of a tricky corner sequence, but not enjoying the Aston was Adman. So I believe he's changed cars, but we will confirm once we get into that lobby.
Well, the servers keep crashing, so there's not much we can do about this. This is a big letdown. It's not much more I can do it from my end to try and get the servers to work, and so far they just keep crashing.
That's a shame.
They usually do come back. But it just takes a little bit of time. Hopefully this gets sorted out. It's it's very, very disappointed.
Yeah, it had been quite a while for those of the guys keen to race on the PS5 version with all the bells and whistles that comes with it, only to have so many false starts.
Oh, it's very disappointing. We both know what the game's like on PC and everything that it brings, and unfortunately, it's been such a letdown for console. With really, was February, March that the PS5 version came out. We still haven't got all the features that we had on PS4. It's very, very disappointing.
Yeah, looks like guys are leaving the server to another. A few peeps in the chat hanging in there while we hopefully get some things sorted with the server. We've got Paulie, Vic, Gaz, Fiona, a couple of usual names in there. So hope you're having a good evening and hopefully we can get some racing. I was wondering, Cam, after watching the first couple of rounds across the servers, if you're if you've got the bug back, if you're itching to get back out there, or you're still happy having a little bit of a break.
I mean, there's two sides to that coin. I'm obviously still keen. I never really lost the interest of racing and driving. Recently, the GT4 season, I taught myself a very hard lesson. Had a disconnect. Another bug wasn't internet. Weirdly enough, it was the game. Kicked me out of the lobby while I was leading twice. Luckily, the first.
Sure, do you appreciate the workout?
Well, you might have to tell it again. Sorry, mate, because I've actually just realised that I had on the wrong window and no one was actually heard any of that. So. We've got some cars in here. It just seems as though there's people that are being disconnected and all sorts of stuff. So we'll just wait and see what happens here. Hopefully with the tick over to qualifying, we might get underway. But we'll just have to wait and see.
Yep.
A lot of yellow BMWs in the shot there.
It's a lot of BMWs full stop in this server.
Yeah, the new Bentley by the looks of it.
Very much so. Yeah, I'm only seeing server 1. Have they reset server 2 as well?
I'm not sure. I think it just keeps dropping out at the moment. There's not much else we can do. Yeah, there we go. That's what I was fearing. That's the state of the game at the moment. I could access the game in spectator mode, but I couldn't actually join the server itself and kept crashing on me. This is where we're at. So look, I think we might call it quits for tonight. From a broadcast point of view, this is very disappointing. It's very disappointing for everyone involved. It's just, yeah, sad state of affairs with this game. Thank you for anyone who's hung in there, and look, we'll try again in a couple of weeks' time. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Footnut. But yeah, unfortunately, it wasn't to be.
Yeah, apologies everyone. Cheers, guys.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you in the next broadcast.
Yep, we'll see you then.